Cats love me, and I like cats, but I don't know if cats. I'm literally losing my train of thought, but whatever. Okay, what's up, Team Tobias? What's up, Cincinnati?
You always say Cincinnati.
No, I don't. That's not true.
Yes, you say Cincinnati a lot.
You should have come.
It's like your fallback.
It is, because it's a place I know. Florida. And I should have information in front of me that says towns and states, and it should be supplied to me by someone.
Oh.
I'm not naming
Florida.
names.
You could even like pick, places that you know about. So there you go. There's Florida, Orlando, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, Sarasota.
Oh, come on, Stephen.
Tampa.
See?
I'm in Ohio. I'm not in Cincinnati, but you have to spread the love to Cincinnati.
I've literally never been to Cincinnati. I think
I've been to Cincinnati.
I have too.
Well, aren't you all fancy pantses?
I don't.
Okay, so we're here for our Ask Me Anything AMA. If you have any questions, let us know. Bowen Island, where's that from? Detroit. Hold my beer.
I only have tea. I have tea.
Ooh, what kind of tea?
It's peach, turmeric, ginger tea.
That sounds good.
It sounds peachy and spicy.
It's for digestion, so.
Oh, okay. Helen Reynolds, Bowen Island, like off of where I am in Vancouver Island.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, in Canada, don't you know?
How do you do all the accents? I've been wondering, like, were you a theater kid?
I was a theater kid.
Were you really? That does not surprise me. I love it. That's great.
Yeah, it's like a thing though. Whenever I hear someone with an accent, like I immediately want to start trying to do it too, and it's really awkward.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Okay, so have I ever been? I'm in Duncan, so we're neighbors. That's
Yeah,
what
well, you're reading things that we can't see yet.
That's why I'm putting them up.
Oh,
It took.
Okay.
I think Sarah had to explain that to me.
If you click on comments in the top right, and you can see the comments.
Thank you.
see
There we
comments.
go. Okay.
Oh, now I'm seeing them. Hi.
Hi. Cloudy and some rain in Indiana.
Oh, I'm from Indiana.
Are you really?
Originally, yeah. Indianapolis.
I'm from a bunch of places, but living here in Florida now. Okay.
I lived in Florida.
I'm sorry. Did you really? Where did you live in Florida?
Outside Tampa Bay.
That means very little.
Tampa? You don't Tampa? It's on the.
I know Tampa. It's like in the redneck part of the state.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I didn't fit in very well there.
No. Oh yeah, you're a California woman.
Go figure.
Yes. Nashville, just north of Indy. I'm from nowhere fancy. I'm from Boston.
Boston.
Yeah.
It's Boston. You got to get $1. You know what I'm talking about here.
So, did you like practice voices when you were in high school and stuff?
I just like to do them.
Okay.
I try to do them, but they never come out the way they sound in my head, and it's just really bad.
It's hard.
I know. Tell me, but there's 20 people. Gee.
Oh,
Jake! Oh, Jake! Jake is here. We love Jake.
Who's Jake? I should know Jake probably because he's probably
my client.
He's probably a client. And I'm awful with names.
We got another. I'm in North Carolina now, so that's nice.
Oh, cool. I like people in North Carolina.
I know exactly where Noblesville, Indiana is. I actually grew up in Zionsville. So,
Oh, very cool.
yeah. It's fun to
Okay.
see where everybody's from.
It is. I agree.
I bet
Alright.
nobody's from Jackie's hometown.
I hate to
Okay.
tell you this, but I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, and I grew up in Australia. So
Did you?
Full circle. You've come full circle.
Okay. Hold on. I'm getting this right. I'm putting us on Instagram. So
oh, okay.
Watch out.
yes. I know. Fancy. Right? Fancy.
There's a town name. Someone, Ellery. Ellery? Am I saying that right?
Oh, I think Ellery misunderstood. I said Zionsville, not Scienceville.
Oh, okay.
I bet it's just my accent. I made it, or I wasn't pronouncing it.
There is a town called Sandwich, though. That does exist.
Yes, we know.
I thought that was fascinating. I did not believe. I was just like, what?
Yeah. It's in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Okay. So the Instagram should be live now.
Watch out.
It is.
I'll go check. What's it on?
It's on my profile, the Lane Haymont.
Do I even follow you?
I don't know. Do you? Am I that? Am I not
do.
cool enough?
I just got a notification.
It says
Yeah,
live.
I do. too.
Oh, goody.
Yep.
Yes, I do follow you. See?
Good.
Yeah, it says we're
Um,
live. Excellent.
Yay. Okay. Agatha Andrews joined Ann Rose. Agatha, we were just talking about you.
In a good way.
In a good way. We weren't like gossiping or anything like that. We don't gossip. Actually, that's all we do on our Slack, but whatevs.
It's good gossip.
Yeah, you have to stay up on the know.
We got to know things.
Like Simon and Schuster is now distributing some self-publishers.
I missed that announcement today.
We literally had that conversation on Slack. Maybe it was Natasha that said there is like self-published books that they were distributing.
I think it was.
And what? Oh, I'll have to look it up.
Scienceville. Oh, that's actually a really cool name. Comments. Okay. No one has any questions, because if they don't, we're just gonna riff.
We can just start talking about nonsense.
Well,
Oh,
I
okay.
actually had something I did want to talk about, which is just a weird thing that I saw somewhere on Twitter or whatever about if your manuscript wish list says that you're looking for something in particular, but it doesn't 100% match what you're open to on Query Manager, how does a client figure out what you're open to? And with respect to me, I know there's been some confusion because I've been actively building my adult list, but I'm still open to pretty much everything. And people were having trouble figuring out what that meant. And it does mean I'm just being more selective in areas that I'm not actively building, because if I'm actively building something for me personally, that means, there's a gap in my list and I want to build X, Y, and Z, whereas I might be more full in my list in other places. So if I'm open to it, it means I'll look at it, but I may be more selective. I don't know how other people feel about that, but that dawned on me this week as something that is causing authors confusion, because there's so much information about wish lists and what we're open to that I just thought I'd throw it out there.
No, it's a good question. I think that if it's open on Query Manager, then that is what they're currently open to, even if it mentions like on manuscript wish list, because those manuscript wish list is not the easiest thing to constantly update. Let's be fair. So, so that's a good general rule of thumb, that if we aren't open specifically to that let's say middle grade, and it says, on our manuscript wish list that says middle grade, but our query manager isn't open to middle grade, we probably just are taking a little break from looking at it at the moment because we're a little bit full. That doesn't mean we won't ever not look at it again, but that just right now it's probably on a pause.
So we have a super good question from Jules, who I do remember we represent, unless I'm going to totally embarrass myself.
No, you do. We do represent Jules. Yes.
Okay, good. I remember that. They say, for those of you who specifically seek underrepresented voices, how have you prepped yourself to support your client when they come up against unconscious biases from editors, sub and editing process? I will say, I complain to so many people that editors want underrepresented voices, but then we get passes that say I didn't connect to this voice. It's kind of like, yeah, of course you didn't, because it's not yours.
I think this is a really great question. And I think it comes down to advocacy, but also communication. So a lot of it is really having a very open and frank and honest conversation, first of all, between agent and client. And then, again, having very open and frank and direct conversation between agent and editor.
Yeah, I don't. Well, first, hi, Stephanie, because she said hello. That's another one of our clients, Lane.
I know. I recognize the name.
I think that it's a lot of, what can I say, open communication. So I think a lot of times editors are busy and they don't necessarily always think about what they're saying when they say no. And so I think that we also have to take what their rejections are with a grain of salt. So, I mean, if it's something that is just hurtful and just unnecessary that the author needs to know, then I think my clients know, for example, that I would just let them know that, hey, this person passed, but what they said isn't necessary for me to pass on. We're just going to cross them off the list. So it's about also knowing who your client is and being able to protect them when necessary, and them trusting you and knowing that what you're not telling them is probably better for them not to know, because it's just not necessary.
And communication, like you said, because when I sign someone, I say, what do you want to know from passes? Some people want to know everything. Some people only want to know what's good. Some people don't want to hear anything until it's a yes. And yeah, okay. Next question, because what I said I don't think made sense.
No, you're right, because we're like a boutique agency, right? Like we have our clients and we know what they are looking for. So I know that, so and so wants me to send them everything as it comes in. I know that another client is like, no, don't send it to me, and we'll do check-ins when I'm ready. So, and because I know my list, I know my clients, we can easily garnish those specific things to each individual.
Okay. I'll start my query journey next month. Congratulations. With a science fantasy novel. If you say you rep science fiction or fantasy, should I query you? Anne's shaking her head yes. I don't know. I'd say no, because science fantasy, I mean, that's like Star Wars.
No, that's space opera.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing.
Okay, describe to me science fantasy.
It's fantasy that has a science element.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have witches, but you could also have technology.
So, I'm so slow. I just understood the question. That just made sense to me.
So
no, I
are
think
you
that'd be
saying
interesting.
that a contemporary fantasy novel would be a science fantasy?
No, contemporary fantasy is contemporary fantasy.
But it takes place...
If there's a science fiction element.
But it takes place in our world.
But that's not science fiction.
But what if there's a science fiction element?
Well, then it's not contemporary.
Could I into this circular discussion and ask another question, which is, how many agents would only rep science fiction or fantasy? So the person who represents those things probably also represents general fiction and speculative, so I'm not sure I understand the question in that sense, because I don't think that many, it's science fiction and fantasy are niche markets. So how many, just submit it to someone who reps those things, but also reps other things, and they can help you decide how to position it.
Right. Space wizards. That's all I have to say.
have a science fiction fantasy on my list, so I understand.
Is it sold or are we shopping it?
No, it's still being worked on. It's still being worked
Okay. Next question from Helen Reynolds. What do you think about the author who used different names and had 4 agents, and they were also masquerading as an agent for some wonky reason?
I mean,
I want to hear Anne's answer.
I don't think any of us think it was right. So,
but I don't understand the question, because if it's what do you think about this, like, why is it relevant what we think about it? I mean, it's kind of bad faith and unethical, but like that doesn't.
I mean, it
get
was
you anywhere.
awful, and it generated a lot of gossip and diversion for a while, but thankfully it was none of our clients.
Yeah, it's funny because I tweeted, if any of my clients end up being that person, I'm going to be really mad. And people were laughing, and I was like, I'm kind of not joking because I've had stuff.
Don't do it. That's what we think. Just
Yes,
don't do it. Don't
it.
do that.
It makes no sense. I logically don't understand it, and just like, be yourself, be cool. Plus, it takes a lot of energy. I mean, I can't keep my own life straight. How are you going to keep 4 people's lives straight? Okay. What would be your ideal pitch to receive at a book event?
It's like our cake book.
I'm not going to say what I was going to say, so I will let other people go.
Okay. Do you mean subject matter, Victoria, or do you mean technique of pitching?
Oh, I figured it was subject matter, but that's
because like I just question all the questions because I'm a lawyer and I just have to. But like, I think actually Kelly could answer that really well, because you know what you say often about queries about don't tell us what the book is about. Don't tell us. You know what I mean? I can't even say it as well as you do.
Now you're confusing. Okay. A lot of people make the mistake of talking about the book instead of saying what the book is about. So that's what we want to know. We want to know the stakes, the major dramatic questions, who the character is, you know, what they want. And the ideal pitch makes me want to read the book. So
this one's for Anne. How do you describe a second world story that does not have a science tech component or a magical component? Would you just call it speculative and call it a day?
Yeah.
You would?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to think, what would I...
You know what? Actually, I've talked to the editor about this book too. Like I only do Kidlit, but there's a Kidlit series that my kids loved growing up. The John Flanagan's Ranger Apprentice, and there's now like 20 million books in that series. And that's similar to that. The first one had a little bit of fantasy elements, but then he decided he didn't like writing fantasy and dropped it. And all the subsequent books are just second world. There's no science, there's no fantasy. They're just otherworldly books. They're fantastic.
Interesting. Here's a good question. Just curious, would you check the ID of someone you represent? No. I mean, a lot of queryers now you see on Twitter get pissed off when agents ask for their home address or their phone number. I mean, I think the issue is when you start making up names is you have to sign contracts in your government name. Otherwise, it's fraud and it's pointless. I mean, how are you going to get a publisher to pay you if they're sending a check to Freitas Moon and Freitas Moon isn't a real person? You can't cash the check.
Right.
You're welcome, Ellery. I don't know what you're saying cool things to, but I'll take
that was
the
the
win.
question we
It's a
answered.
mandatory question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree. Sure.
I'm just here to say that the Rosebuds are here representing. So we've got
they really
Stan
are.
and Stephanie and Jake, and you guys are amazing. Love you guys.
Yeah, none of my authors show up.
To Cecilia, yes, you can use LLCs, but LLCs are a legal entity. It's a legal person. Sorry, lawyer here. Just adding on to what Lane said, you can sign a contract as your legal self or as your company, because a company is a legal being.
Entity.
You just can't sign a contract as a pen name, because a pen name doesn't relate to anything legal, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
I have clients who they sign their contracts as LLCs,
Yep.
or I have to represent them as LLCs, especially in Hollywood. Tax fraud, that's what everyone does.
Um,
I'm still
Molly?
bummed none of my clients are here. Then again, I never told any of them about it. So,
I mean, I just put it on Twitter, so
Stan's here. I love Stan. I
Stan's
don't think
here,
I've ever
Molly
met
is
Stan.
We're like the
here.
Stan fan club here. We're the Stan
Right?
Stans.
We
He's such a
are.
great artist. Okay. So, there's actually people in the Instagram too. Cool.
Oh, are they talking to us though? Can they talk?
No,
on
I don't
Instagram?
know. I'm not smart enough to figure out all this stuff. And I should have asked Sarah, but I didn't.
I think Sarah enjoys watching us muddle through.
I think
They
you're
make
right.
little Slack comments to me.
Dude, I think that's funny. That doesn't surprise me. They sent me my copy of Dreadful the other day,
Me too.
and I think I might have taken a picture and posted it. But
You
it's
did.
okay. Yeah, it's a gorgeous book. I love
It's
that
beautiful.
cover.
I'm waiting.
Um,
Texas mail is the worst.
Oh, it's Texas. No offense, Texas people.
I may have just sent you something in Texas, Anne.
I'll get it next month sometime.
Yeah. You'll enjoy it next month when you get it.
I think the reason folks get annoyed with agents asking for home addresses when at the query stage, because you don't actually know who this agent is, and they could be a fraud themselves. See, I get that, but I mean, if we're talking on Query Manager, I don't know, but I think Patrick vets people. I might be just making that up.
I think he's pretty careful.
Oh, agents? I think he vets
Yeah.
agents, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's agents. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think if a querier is querying an agent on query management, I mean, I would ask for the address just for my own ease of use. Like at the contract stage, I don't have to feel stupid and ask you for your address, but I don't ask for home addresses, I don't think, because people don't like that.
Yeah, I don't ask for a home address unless I need it. But I also send like holiday cards. So I know. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever gotten one.
You didn't get one last year?
I don't think so. Not from you.
Okay, I'll double check on that this year.
Please do.
Okay.
What's the process of shopping books for TV movie options? Wow. Okay. So a lot of agencies don't want to start doing anything until the book either is published or at the galley stage. But all the producers, agents, managers have always told us, when you're shopping it, send it to us. And I think it's because of FOMO. They don't want to miss out on the next Hunger Games because they didn't see it until later on. But I will say a lot more attention gets paid to books that are now just coming out. And mainly because they're in the media. This Wretched Valley, Jenny Kiefer, her book was in the New York Times, got a great review. So we got a lot of attention from that. But that book has had a film manager, I think from the beginning, Andrew Dean at Industry Entertainment. Shout out to him. And we will have some exciting news on that, knock on wood, soon. I'm curious about Anne, though, because Anne recently just had a great success with This Girl's a Killer. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, we can't really talk too much about it, but we also like to do outreach. So we are constantly talking to different film agents and also just directly with production companies and those types of things in order to get your book seen and out in the world. So Stephanie, don't you worry. I have your book out with a couple people right now. So
Hollywood seems to be all about FOMO. Yeah, Hollywood is all FOMO. Absolutely FOMO. I have a friend who was trying to sell something about the Havana syndrome, and no one wanted it. No one would touch it. And then as soon as it was on 60 Minutes, people are like, hey, man, you never sent that to me. And he's like, yeah, I've been knocking on your door for a year. So, yeah, FOMO is all Hollywood. To Steven, I'm not putting that up just because I don't want to trigger anyone, but I think that's just people's own taste. I mean, I don't want to do with that stuff just because, it's triggering. And frankly, I'm a dude and I have male cis het white blinders and much more than I thought I have learned. So that's probably why you're running into that.
Hey, there was another question that we've missed, and that this is a good time to say, if we miss your question, don't hesitate to repeat it. But Helen asked farther up, what do we consider commercial fiction?
Oh, I didn't see that. Thank you, Kelly. Someone else go ahead, so I'm not just talking.
I'm the absolute wrong person because I lean literary and niche. Natasha would be the one who's like, here's what commercial fiction is. I think Anne and Kelly are both more in the commercial space probably than I am.
Commercial is definitely something you can easily pitch in like a sentence. So you understand the plot and the story within one sentence. And This Girl's a Killer is a great, let me show you the cover of This Girl's a Killer. So This Girl's a Killer is a great commercial plot. It's Dexter meets Legally Blonde. It's a female serial killer. Boom, done. You knew exactly what it was. Dexter, serial killer. Legally Blonde, hot blonde. That's Cordelia right there.
That's perfect.
Yep.
Good job.
I just got my ARCs and I love the cover and I love the book and I'm so glad Anne sold it and it's going to be a huge mega hit and we're going to make millions off it. So I will be living on my own island, flying around on a private jet. It will be great. I submit and get published in journals a lot. Many of them ask for home addresses, mostly to mail copy. Yeah, I mean, I think publishers will, you got to get mail. Your home address is, number one, I think it's public record. And number two, it's business, even if you're working at, I don't know, USAA, they need your address to send you stuff.
And you can have a post office box if you want to. If you're worried about that, about people finding where you, like my dad has always had a PO box because he's worked in the children's court system and it's very sensitive stuff. So he has a PO box. It's not expensive.
There are things these days called digital PO boxes too, which is basically you give someone a PO box, but it actually still comes to your home address. So,
that's cool. I didn't know that.
That's interesting.
There's a fee, of course, but
yeah. Okay. To build on the science fantasy question, mashups are pretty popular for us writers. Do you want writers to pitch those as one or the other? How do you market that to publishers?
We pitch them as a mashup. They are looking for genre blending things as well.
Right.
So genre blending is always something that's fun and makes it unique. So so just give it to us the way it is. And that's how we generally go out with it. But we're going to try to position it in the way that we think is going to be most successful for the project. So it just is going to depend on the project.
And I think that's also where comps really come in handy. So that's why we always tell you to work hard on those comps.
Mm-hmm. What's the general feel for upper middle grade young YA? Anne and Kelly, that is all you.
Well, first, I want to say that everybody recognizes that it's a whole. Like there's a need. The challenge, of course, is where do you shelve these books in the bookstore or the library? So I think publishers, what I'm hearing is that they're really actually pretty eager for these books. I've noticed a lot of publishers imprints buying books with 15-year-old protagonists and pitching them as middle grade, upper middle grade. And I think that everybody's kind of trying something right now, but everyone recognizes that there is a need. And a good book will sell. It'll find its niche. So I think that that's really still, I fall back on that. What do you think, Anne?
No, I agree. I think Team Canteen, which is Amalia's book, who's here with us tonight, that is considered an upper middle grade book that's coming out this year. So yeah, I think there's definitely a need for it, and I think editors are eager to get those things.
Ooh, Jackie, do you have any tips for authors who want to make their writing more literary?
Well, my first tip is don't, because it's harder to sell. It's hard to sell and it's really hard to do well. But it's hard for me to answer, Ellery, without sort of knowing why you're asking the question. But if it's a writing craft question, my tip is to really read a lot of literary fiction and read with your writer's eyes on. Read with a pen and a notepad next to you. Note turns of phrase that stand out to you. Think about how much page space is being devoted to character development and setting versus action, and just read like a writer, and you'll get a feel for it, I think.
Yeah. Is there an underrated genre in your opinion? Why or why not? I'm always going to say horror because not everyone loves horror. Jackie doesn't love horror. Kelly, Anne. Do you read horror?
I do sometimes.
Anne despises horror. She won't even
I
call
won't
it
watch a movie. I will not watch horror movies. They're too much. The music and the crescendos and the visuals and all of that. It's too. I can read it. I cannot watch it.
And she's never called that phone number.
I've never called the phone number.
I called the phone number.
I called the phone number.
It was awesome. I like horror. I just don't get scared by it. And so then I feel like something is either wrong with me or wrong with the book. But movies, yeah, I have a hard time once you add all the sensory stuff in.
See?
Yeah.
But I think too, science fiction, because there's not enough science fiction in Kidlit.
I agree.
We kind of skip over it, but Stephanie's very good at that. So
I have a question because I once sold a sci-fi YA that I'm not going to get into, but basically what I was told, and this is years ago, that YA sci-fi, kidlit sci-fi is dead. And I have a question for Anne and Kelly. Is that true? Because I don't know.
It's rare is to see good sci-fi published. I don't think it's dead though. I think it's underrated, and perhaps it's a missed opportunity. That I've read some fantastic sci-fi that in the past, but it's just rare. You don't see it much. I don't know why.
I think we had the big dystopian for a while, right? So that's dystopian's pretty much right there in line with science fiction. So I think we had that for a long time. And so I think we kind of went away from that because everything started to feel very familiar in that space. But I think we're going to be seeing, I think it's coming back. I think we're going to see a resurgence.
I will say where I'm seeing more sci-fi is in graphic novels.
True.
As opposed to novels. In middle grade and YA. So
how do we feel about cozy dystopians?
Yeah. We're gonna sell it, Lane. That's what we feel about it.
I bet you will, because you're super smart, and then I'll be eating my hat all the way to the bank.
Yep.
As agents, you deal with multiple rejections from editors. How do you cope with the rejections, and how is your overall mental health as an agent?
Terrible. Just terrible.
We probably all have five
There have been
therapists.
times that I mean, we all obviously when we take a project out, it's because we believe in it, and we also generally quite care for our clients, and so it's hard to take it. I mean, you do get just multiple rejections, but there are times when you kind of are not happy with what you're reading on the screen, and sometimes I'm glad I'm the only one in the house so that only the cats need to hear me mouth off at it. And yeah, but that's a good question. Because it does, I think it does kind of hit us personally as well, because we do care about our projects.
And I think too, and this is true, we often feel about it the way authors feel about agent rejections, in the sense that, sometimes you're being rejected not because the project isn't any good, but because the economy's down and acquisitions are slow and people don't have the bandwidth. And you sort of have to take that in stride a little bit too, because I know authors often take a rejection very personally, when very often it's just not, it's just not a fit for my list. And I think as agents, we have to bear that in mind too, that we will go through periods where like everything is being rejected. And then we're all looking at each other and saying, okay, the market's slow right now. It's not that our projects stink, it's the market is slow.
Right. I do think as well, this is where I'm also grateful for working on a team, because we can support each other, and you can get on Slack and be like, why is this awesome? And then, it's nice to get supported from your teammates. So
And that's something,
the overall mental health.
Yeah, I think that's something we do great, because it is miserable getting passes and not selling books, or waiting 8 years for a book to sell or to get the contract, and you're worried the contract's going to fall through and you want to rip your hair out and run off into the woods. Okay. I guess maybe, do you have any tips for authors who want to turn their commercial novel into an upmarket one? Ooh, that's a good question.
And I'm going to say again, Ellery, why? Don't do it. Write commercial stuff. Make big bucks. Why do you want to be more literary and upmarket? But now I'm just making fun, and I'm sorry. And you probably have thoughts on the distinction there.
I mean, the distinction between upmarket and commercial, I believe, is right there in the middle, right? So it's kind of on that line that it's a commercial probably hook, but the writing is a little bit more literary, so it has more of that like feel. I have a client who writes really well in the upmarket space, but we haven't sold anything yet, so I don't know. I would maybe heed Jackie's warning there, and if you have a commercial voice, there's nothing wrong with that. Lean into it, like embrace it. That's great.
I think though, if you wanted to, to me, it would be leaning into theme. That intersection where character and plot and theme really meet, and just kind of dig deep into theme.
And actually, I could add on to that from some experience with my MFA student that I've been supervising this semester. And she's not on the call, so I can talk about her. But we came up with this great exercise because she was trying to do something similar. She's a poet, and she was trying to branch out more into trade nonfiction prose, actually. Okay. And one exercise I don't know which one of us came up with it. It might have been me. To write some vignettes to pull the themes out of the story. And it worked so well. So it's like a free writing exercise. So she was writing things from the point of view of her main, subject of this biography, but not that would go in the final manuscript, just stuff that she wanted to write about. And she found when she did that for a month or so, it really exposed some of the themes that she'd been subconsciously aware of, but hadn't brought them to the fore in her writing. So I actually think that's a really good exercise to do. Take your protagonist and do some free writing and really dig into those underlying literary themes. Right.
I've been waiting to answer this question because it's really, really simple. be famous. or do something extraordinary that no one else has done, like march across or hike across the United States. That's the only answer. The real one is just be famous. We talked about MSWL. Could each of you pitch to us authors in the format of I'm looking for the next, using movies, TV shows, music, other? I am never looking for the next Frankenstein because you will never top it, and I get that a lot. I am looking for the next Hunger.
I could say, I mean, it's not that old of a show. I'm looking for the next Outer Banks, or I'm looking for the next, is it Lock and Key?
Mhm.
I would love the next Lock and Key. What is the name? I loved the books. I didn't like the TV show that much, but the books with the ghost hunters and the
Scooby-Doo?
mirrors. No. I could do Scooby-Doo there too. Lockwood and Company.
Way off.
Yeah. I'd take Scooby-Doo though too.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo 2. Monsters Inc. That over the others. But yeah, that's actually one of our family's favorite movies. All right, I'm done.
I mean, it's hard for me to answer because for me, it's just so much the voice. Like it's, you can't learn, you can't beat just an irresistible narrative voice on the page. So I'm less about sort of, I want the next X, because then a million people will say they're the next X, but it's the person with the voice who's the next. And I would say, I'd love the next Leanne Moriarty or Jane Harper, but I actually just signed 2 people who I think are the next Leanne Moriarty.
Yes.
So I'm not going to say that now.
Okay, for me, let me think. So we were talking about this yesterday, actually. And so the old film Toy Soldiers, I think a female version of Toy Soldiers would be really fun. I would love a version of Sugar and Spice. If you haven't seen that movie, then you should. And I would love that. Lane, did you do your homework? Have you watched Drop Dead Gorgeous yet?
No, and I'm still a little annoyed you weren't calling me Drop Dead Gorgeous, but that's okay. I've gotten over it.
So pretty much anything that is a gang of girls teaming up, that's just whatever. That's my jam. That's what I want the next of.
Okay. What are your predictions for popular trends and themes in pubs? I think we can do trends, but I mean themes. People want universal, relatable themes.
I think vampires are back, baby.
Mm-hmm. And I'm here for it.
I'm here for it.
I'm ready. Yeah,
I think we're going to see dystopian come back.
I think
we're going to see cozy dystopians come back.
I 100% think we're going to get cozy dystopian. Thank you. Yes, we are. So, yeah, there's another one of my clients. See, they're all here tonight. See,
Yep.
Lane?
I know. I'm such a loser.
Yeah.
I'm Zib, a YA romantasy writer. Cool.
Welcome.
Hey, friends. Opposite of the underrated genre question, is there a genre you think is overrated?
Memoirs.
What?
What'd you say, Jackie?
Celebrity memoirs, but we need them because that funds everything else. So.
Yeah, I know. It's a guaranteed paycheck.
But I mean, they're overrated in the sense that whoever reads them, seriously, like
everyone, they're just all the same, kind of, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to knock celebrity memoirs because I know celebrity memoirs, yada, yada, yada. But, I think there's a good number of them that are embellished. And what do you have?
No, I'm just gonna. I agree. I have a friend that reads a bunch of celebrity memoirs, and then she tells me all about them, so I don't have to read them. So it's really works
That's
really well.
handy.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kelly, any underrated,
I don't-
overrated
Overrated.
genres?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. My mind's blanking. I feel like there are books that you see and you're like, I've read this before. But I don't. Yeah.
I think YA dystopian.
Well, it's kind of overdone. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is overdone the same as overrated? Because there's some really good YA dystopia, but there's just a lot of it.
Yeah. So I probably haven't run into any good ones because Anne gasped in horror when I said that.
What? And I mean, we were just talking about how it's going to make a comeback, and we're talking about how we're going to sell an amazing cozy dystopian. So I don't think you can sit here and dig.
I said YA dystopian. Cozy dystopian is different.
It's a YA cozy dystopian.
Okay, but it's cozy dystopian. That's a huge difference.
Okay, I'm just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. I'm all about the cozy dystopian. You pitched it to me, and I'm all on board, and it's going to make us millions of dollars.
We're working on it.
But can I also say one more thing about like overrated, because this may be adding a dimension that the person asking the question didn't intend. But the one thing I say on all my manuscript wish lists is I don't want the next disgruntled ex-CIA agent solving the next blah, blah, blah. And I kind of think that genre is overrated, in the sense that there is so much of it. But when so I'm not interested in repping it. So like there's overrated in the sense of, wow, there's just too much of it and I don't want to deal with it. And there's too much of it in people shouldn't be reading this stuff. And I am usually thinking about the former. I'm usually thinking about, well, if there's all these millions of series that famous people already write, there's not a lot of room in the market for me to
more
be
oversaturated.
That's what I'm meaning. You have vocabulary.
Sometimes.
Okie doke. I get so many rejections with my journal submissions of poetry and stories. I hope my skin is leathered for agent rejections when they start. We hope so too. Yeah. Does it help to have an MFA when you're querying it out there?
We did a show. You should watch it.
We could just refer you to a podcast episode.
Yeah. No, I don't think it helps. It doesn't hurt. I don't know. I don't have an MFA. Everyone else here does.
No,
but
and doesn't.
Oh yeah, you have a communications degree.
I have a BA. Right. You have a BS. I have a BA.
BS. I love it. That's the whole reason I took a Bachelor of Science.
That's the only reason why I remember it. So.
BS. It's funny. I am famous in a parallel dimension. Well, soon it will be this dimension.
Oh, you are famous in this dimension, Stan. You are the best.
Let's say your unpublished manuscript was shortlisted for a contest. If you then significantly revise the manuscript, can you still claim, for lack of a better word, that writing credential?
Sure.
Why not?
I know. Sure?
Yeah.
That's the answer. What is your definition of coming of age? Is this more of a commercial genre or upmarket? Is it more character driven or plot driven? Missy. Ooh, that's a tough question.
Steffi's coming in with the hard-hitting questions tonight.
I know.
For me, it's about a character coming to understand their place within their worlds, either within their family or within the larger world. If it's YA middle grade, it's usually within their family. YA within the larger world. I think it could be commercial or upmarket. And for me, the coming of age is more character driven because that's where the change is happening. It's within the character. Thoughts to the rest of you?
I think that term has been so overused that it almost means nothing. Like I hate seeing that in query letters because it feels so dated. It feels like Catcher in the Rye, or I think if you are writing the sort of book that Kelly is talking about, there are better ways to describe it, more specific ways to describe it. Like, rather than think about, can we come up with a definition of coming of age? Can you come up with a more specific description of what your character goes through? Because I think that is more a selling point.
I had an acquisition editor at Tor Nightfire look at my full. She rejected that draft. Should I send her the completely new draft? She didn't ask for an R&R. No. I mean, if they wanted an R&R, they'd ask. If not, it's kick rocks. All female Scooby-Doo, Anne?
I'm in.
All right. Wait, what did Anne say? I was on mute. Uh-oh.
I said I love you and you're the best.
I'm here because I saw Lane's tweets. Laugh, Mike. Good. You said girl gangs. So, I would like that. Girl gangs, like Gang World, except it's girls, women. I read a lot of memoirs, celeb and not, but the ones I read are all about some serious topics, addiction, growing up in a cult, stuff like that. I have a couple memoirs. You should read Lost in Ghost Town by Dr. Carter Stout. It's about addiction. He was a driver for the Venice Crips, and there was a hit out on his life at one point, and now he's a super duper famous psychotherapist in Los Angeles, and he has another book called We Are All Addicts, and his next one we're going to try and sell is called We Are All Assholes. Yeah, it's going to be good. Celeb memoirs are my guilty pleasures. It's the perfect brain rot, and I'm addicted. Yeah, I read Anna Kendrick's Scrappy Little Nobody.
But that's meant to be good. That's meant to be really well written.
I didn't know she had one. I love Anna Kendrick, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good. I liked it. Mine's about getting rescued from the cult. Hi, Stan. This is for Anne. Some celeb memoirs read like dystopian. That's so good. True. I love it. That's about the gay attorney. Whoops. Anne, you have a BS right here. Oh, that's funny. There's so brilliant. Reynolds. Needed to talk.
It's okay. No worries. I said you had some hard-hitting questions tonight. You're just giving it good. So good job. Thank you. And then Stan left. Bye, Stan. We missed you.
Bye, Stan. Johnny Compton popped in for a minute, I think. What's up, Johnny Compton? Okay, so YA. What genres do we think are dead? Because I think YA horror is always here.
I think YA fantasy is a tough market right now. So there has to be something really, really unique or special or different or fresh feeling for it to really have a chance in the market at the moment.
Is Fourth Wing YA, or am I making that up?
It feels YA, but I think it's marketed as adult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we just had a meeting with Ace Entertainment, who did To All the Boys I've Loved Before. And it's interesting. They said they're moving into new adult stuff. And I was kind of like, it's interesting that Hollywood is moving into new adult, but publishing is like, go F yourself. We'll never do that.
I think it's more challenging for publishing, right? Because publishers, their customer is the bookstore. And if the bookstore doesn't have a shelf that's called new adult, then they have nowhere to put that product. So when you have a movie, that's a lot easier. Your movie is to consumers, right? So the consumer wants to see it, so they can go and they can see your product. But it's different because publishers aren't selling to consumers. Publishers are selling to bookstores, and bookstores have to have a space on a shelf, a physical space for a product. And if there isn't one, they're like, well, I don't have a space for this. I'm not going to buy it because I can't sell it. So that's the difference.
I mean, that's the same thing with upper middle grade young YA. So it's all those kind of bridge markets that are tough. There's a need, People want it, but where do you shelve it?
I always say that it's safer to make sure you are set on a shelf. Find where you can have your book sitting on the shelf. And then if
Mhm.
those crossover readers find it, then great. That's amazing. But you can't try to seek to fit that crossover need because there's no shelf for that crossover need. You have to be able to sit it somewhere next to another product that's already there. As soon as the bookstores have new adult sections, then yes.
Agatha Andrews here. Yay. Hi, Agatha. Are there any other cusp genres like new adult?
Well, we were talking like teen, right? Like that middle grade to
Mhm.
YA space.
Are there any topics you want to see authors write more of? Taking down the patriarchy.
We're always for that. Show me your
Yeah.
shirt, Lane.
It's a T-Rex saying, eat the patriarchy. I love T-Rexes.
Does that T-Rex have a mustache?
I think it's eating something.
Yeah, it's eating
Oh.
something.
Oh yeah, it's eating a dude. It's eating a guy. That's awesome.
You just figured that out.
I just figured that out. That's amazing. I love it. Wow. If you have a genre-bending novel, can your agent pitch it as a different genres depending on the editor? Same way, yes. I pitched a paranormal romance that they were going to buy as a horror. You know, it's really up to marketing and sales, I guess, but other people's mileage may vary. Kelly?
Yeah. I mean, I do that. I mean, yeah, I pitch things differently to different editors. There's no question.
I don't
was
know if
looking
I've
up-
ever. Sorry, go ahead.
I was a little distracted because I was looking up at Jake's post with Ava. Okay, we can get to that next. But you haven't pitched something differently, Jackie?
I've pitched differently to different editors, but I don't know that I've ever pitched something as a different genre because that would affect my, like I wouldn't rewrite my whole paragraph about
Right.
the market and the comp titles. So I might, say, I know you are mainly in this, but I wonder if the element, I wouldn't pitch
Right.
the
I
same
emphasize
thing.
certain things when I
Right.
personalize it to the different editors. Yeah.
Okay, Jake's question is a great question. Are there any difficult themes that shouldn't be tackled in middle grade YA? How do you feel about a daddy-daughter writing duo?
I think that if the topic is something that affects middle graders or YAers, young adults, then it's definitely something that needs to be tackled in books. So there's no taboo topics if it's something that kids are dealing with. I think daddy-daughter writing duos are fantastic.
But they should be daughter-daddy writing duos because we're eating the patriarchy. So Ava, it's a daughter-daddy duo and it matters.
There you go. Ooh, Agatha Andrews. Thoughts on cozy horror. All my women in the goth and cottage core
Goth and cottage core. Yes.
and cozy horror topics rate as high as my gothic and gothic romance episode. Do you see interest on your end? Yeah, I think so, because people are always saying horror adjacent.
Mhm.
They want something that's horror-esque, but not exactly blood, guts, and gore, which is what people think of when they say horror. And like we were saying before, Anne is shopping in an amazing cozy dystopian that's going to make us all super rich. So yeah, we're all about the cozy horror. And honestly, on TikTok, I love cottagecore. And like the ASMR, there's a Canadian guy I follow who's like, "Hello, how are you?" And he gives you like tea and makes all the cookies and stuff. I love it. Subtle feminism for the women.
For the
Or
win.
for the win. I can't read. Okay, yeah. So Agatha, we're definitely, Anne and I are gonna be emailing you just to put it out there. Okay. Any final questions? Because we have like 30 seconds. Lane, Ann, Jackie, and Kelly, thanks so much for all this. I love your brutal honesty. I'm probably the only brutal one here. Jackie snorted.
I was the one who said don't write literary. I was the one who said, like, here's my advice: don't do it.
Yeah, well, it's true. It's hard to sell and it makes no money. At least that's what they say. Okay. It's coming up in an hour. There's 78 of you, which is bonkers because last time we had like 5.
Well, you didn't let people in last time.
I know.
Thanks, Team Rosebud, for showing up.
Yeah, seriously. Woo! Team Rosebud. I need to think of something cool like that because Rosebuds are taking over.
We are.
I know.
We have a plan for world domination. Sorry. We're getting together this summer to talk about it too.
That's good. I love it. Rosebuds. Okay. So we will catch you all on the flip side. Bye.